have a material witness on an aggravated battery with a handgun and they believe might be in retaliation to her testimony.
You alright? I think so. You look a little young for a homicide. How long have you been on the job? About 6 months. My father's the police commissioner. He said it would build my character as a policeman. Well, right now it looks like most of your character's in that trash can.
Could be worse, you know. Could be you that has to clean up this mess. You look like you could use a drink. Come on, I'll buy you a beer. We'll file a report in the morning.
Bio-Tec is a nationwide crime scene and trauma scene cleanup company. We specialize in suicide, homicide, murder, natural death, any type of biohazard cleanup that is needed by families or businesses. We respond to that and clean it up. Along with that, we also do restoration work, so we specialize in fire, water, and mold restoration. The company began almost 20 years ago. The current owner of Bio-Tec worked for a company. One of the employees there committed suicide in the bathroom, and there wasn't any companies that did this type of work, and nobody else volunteered to do it. So the current owner, Mark, volunteered himself to clean that bathroom up, and he thought after he was done, boy, I think somebody needs to start a business in crime scene cleanup, and that's where it started. You know, when you deal with you know, death and scenes, each one is pretty interesting. You know, there's a few of them that kind of stick out in my mind as interesting. You know, some of them are almost sad too, to a certain degree, where you deal with families or young ones involved. You know, you're dealing with people that have maybe gotten into an accident or have been drinking too much and then, you know, have committed suicide. But each one's interesting, and each one has, you know, a story behind it that we have to deal with. So some of them can be sad, and, you know, depending on how much time goes by in each death, it's each one has its own story, I suppose. We would sooner respond than have somebody close to the family volunteer to do the cleanup for them. Favorite part would be helping out families that have to go through a traumatic death, helping them deal with the cleanup emotionally so that they don't have to. It really takes a burden off of their shoulders to know that we're there to help them do the cleanup and they don't have to. That's probably the best thing. The worst thing, probably the smell of some of those, depending on how long the body has been there for. The condition of the home itself can be the worst. And so I would probably say the smell, that initial smell, is definitely the worst part of the job. We require all of our representatives to go through a training course, pass it at 100%. And that training course includes a lot of things that they're going to need to know while they're on the job. Safety procedures, cleaning procedures, different chemical applications depending on the type of scene it is, waste disposal. And that training course usually gets completed within about 2 weeks. And once that training course is passed at 100%, we're then able to have those representatives dispatch and respond to cleanups. We have teams in most major metropolitan areas, along with a lot of suburbs and outskirts of different towns and cities. So we have about between 100 and 125 different teams throughout the country that respond to the cleanup or respond to the call. We get our business a number of different ways. Number one is referrals or awareness that is made to the police departments, the funeral homes, the coroners and medical examiners, places like that, know that we can respond for the families, so they would in turn give the families our contact information to be able to have them call in and get a cleanup set up. We also do some conferences. We're part of a few state associations where we attend their conferences and promote Bio-Tec. People find us online, different search engines, to be able to locate crime scene cleanup companies and insurance agents, places like that. So that's a few different areas in how we get business. So they've gotten our information from somebody, have made the call. One of our dispatchers gathers all the information. Then they get in contact with a local team within that area to set up a time that works for the family to be able to respond for the cleanup. And they respond. There's some paperwork, some job forms that correspond with the job that get filled out, sent back to us here in our main office, and then we deal and submit all that information to the insurance and handle the billing process. So from start to finish, we got the dispatch, the response, job forms and paperwork, and then dealing with the billing of the cleanup. Well, one thing people don't know about is sometimes they don't know that there's companies that can respond to their need. They haven't heard of any companies. Maybe their local departments and medical examiners aren't familiar with local companies that can respond. So that's number one, is a lot of times people don't know that there's companies that can do this, like Bio-Tec. And number two, if they do, they don't know that it's covered under the insurance on the property. So the cost really only affects them as much as their deductible would be for their homeowner's insurance policy. We started to think of other ways where we could increase our business, and we got into working with a couple different clients and asset management companies and work directly on their foreclosures. With restoration work and with foreclosures, we know that when somebody gets evicted and maybe they're not so happy about the situation, they tear out their plumbing, they tear out their electrical, they damage or vandalize the home, or maybe it just has neglect. Well, what we started to do is we started to work with them in rehabbing these properties and bringing them back up to a marketable condition so that they could be sold. And we've been doing that now for about 6 or 7 years, and that's a big aspect of our business is being able to rehab these homes for a couple different banks and clients so that they can in turn sell them and get them back, on the market. Another aspect of our business is meth remediation. Now we see a lot of people buying properties, or maybe somebody moves into an apartment and they hear a rumor that somebody before them cooked meth or smoked meth in the property. What we can do is we can go in there and test that property, do surface sampling, send that to a laboratory for analysis, and then provide that owner or that landlord or that management company a report that breaks down what the contamination of meth is, if it's detect or if it's non-detect, and base our findings off of that report, and then formulate a plan to either one, let them know that it's clear and it's non-detect for meth and they can be fine and happy living there, or two, provide them with a remediation process to clean the home to get it below standards of contamination that are healthy for human use. We're one of the originators. We're one of the first crime scene cleanup companies. So you'll find that there is some other companies, in other cities, but it's at least it's nice to know that their families have options to be able to really know that there is an industry that will help take that emotional burden off of cleaning after a traumatic death.